Some of the most progressive figures in American politics come to Texas, hoping to win votes.
We don't think Texas is quite so red. We think Texas has huge potential to become a more progressive state.
But Texas has been reliably red for nearly 3 decades. We sit down with Senator Bernie Sanders, why he sees opportunity now for the blue team.
Definitely panic shopping. They're buying, the toilet paper's almost out, the paper towels. Waters, they have a ton of water.
Panic buying fueled by a strike that shut down ports. A tentative deal stopped that strike, but is it really over? We look at the unresolved issue that could still cause problems. Is Texas about to execute an innocent man? The spotlight is on a case that's raising questions.
Every Texan should be alarmed that this is careening forward in our name as somehow the product of justice.
The new evidence that has state lawmakers pushing to stop this execution.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Josh Hinkle. 1 month out from Election Day, and Texas is a hotspot for campaign activity. Former President Donald Trump made a quick stop in the Lone Star State. He flew into Midland on Wednesday to raise some campaign cash. Trump held a private fundraising event there, with tickets reportedly being in the thousands of dollars. Even though the public did not have access, some people came out to show support.
I feel pretty excited, knowing the fact that we get to actually get some glimpse of Donald Trump. I'm glad that he's coming to Odessa, Midland. I mean, that's awesome.
Congressman August Pfluger met Trump as he exited his plane. Pfluger said Trump's first words as he stepped onto the tarmac were, quote, "Drill, baby, drill," voicing support for the state's oil industry. Trump's plane was also spotted in Houston earlier Wednesday, where the former president reportedly held another fundraiser. Meanwhile, some of the most progressive figures in the country came to campaign here in Texas. Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez came to drive turnout among young voters. But is that fight worth it in a state that's been reliably red for nearly 3 decades? Politics reporter Ryan Chandler looks at why some progressives see real opportunities in Texas.
Up and down Texas's blue spine, progressives see a path.
We are extremely optimistic that this will be the year Texas will change from a very, very, very dark purple to a blue. So we're stoked.
Over the last 3 presidential elections, Democrats have cut their margins in Texas by 10 points. Biden lost Texas by fewer than 6 points in 2020.
You have a lot of young people, you have a lot of working class people, you have a strong trade union movement, and I think people right now want to fight for a nation and a government that works for all and not just the few. That's what I'm seeing here in Texas.
For his part, Senator Cruz is taking nothing for granted. He's embarking on a 6-stop bus tour this week to drive Republican turnout, warning it'll be a tight race.
We have a battle on our hands. The Democrats intend to spend more than $100 million trying to win this state. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, they're going to lose.
On that note, Sanders says Democrats aren't doing enough to fight in Texas. He says now is the time to turn up the heat.
We can do a lot better. We can rally people around that message. We're going to win here in Texas, win all over the country.
Ryan Chandler, State of Texas.
Ryan spoke one-on-one with Senator Bernie Sanders before Wednesday's rally. He asked some in-depth questions about why Sanders believes his push for progressive policies could win over Texans.
Well, Senator Sanders, welcome to Texas. Thanks for sitting down with us.
My pleasure.
You've been on quite the Texas tour this week, which I think may surprise some people around the country to see some of the most progressive lawmakers rallying in red Texas. What do you say to that? Why are you in Texas?
We don't think Texas is quite so red. We think Texas has huge potential to become a more progressive state. You have a lot of young people, you have a lot of working class people, you have a strong trade union movement, and I think people right now want to fight for a nation and a government that works for all and not just the few. That's what I'm seeing here in Texas.
Do you think the National Party is doing enough to invest here in Texas?
I think in general, and I speak as an independent, the National Democratic Party is not doing enough in general to organize at the grassroots level working class people and young people who are going to lead the fight against corporate greed and create an economy that works for all of us.
What do you think is the path to victory in Texas? What do Democrats here need to do
I'll tell you what they need to do.
to get across the finish line?
They need to understand that we have more income and wealth inequality right now than we've ever had in the history of this country. As we speak, people on top have never, ever had it so good. 60% of our people nationally are living paycheck to paycheck. Millions of people can't afford health care, they can't afford child care, they can't afford prescription drugs. So we need to bring our people together to demand that we have a government and an economy that works for everybody, not just the billionaire class.
That's a message that's been very successful for you. What about this year makes you think that it will be successful here?
It's successful in every state in this country. Working people are sick and tired of working longer and longer hours, going nowhere in a hurry, while the people on top are making out like bandits. You got billionaires who pay an effective tax rate, lower than truck drivers and nurses. You got large profitable corporations that in some cases don't pay a nickel in taxes. So we are the richest country in the history of the world. And you know what? We should not be the only nation on earth not to guarantee health care to all people or paid family and medical leave. We can do a lot better. We can rally people around that message. We're going to win here in Texas, win all over the country.
Colin Allred, of course, is mounting a considerable challenge against Ted Cruz. His campaign, and to large part the Harris campaign, seems to have made the calculation that in order to win in the states they need to, for Allred, Texas, for Harris, maybe Pennsylvania, they need to temper their progressive views in order to fit the electorate. For Allred, he's not for universal health care. Harris and Allred, for example, support fracking. Do you think that's the right message to run on?
Every candidate in every state is going to run his or her own campaign. They make the assessment of what they think makes sense in order to get elected. So I'm not going to comment on what Colin is doing. All I will tell you is that all over this country, you go out, you ask people, do you think healthcare should be a human right, that all of us should be able to go to the doctor, that we should be the only country, major country on earth not to guarantee healthcare? You know what people will tell you? No, healthcare is a human right. You ask people whether billionaires should be paying their fair share of taxes, they will say yes. So I'm not going to dictate or tell people what kind of campaign they should run. They know it better than I do. All I'm telling you is, having gone all over the country, working people in this country want change. They want a government that works for them, not just wealthy campaign contributors.
How do you like working with Ted Cruz?
How do I like work? Well, Ted and I have slightly different points of view on a number of issues. So, I think what we should appreciate is the House of Representatives is up for grabs, the White House is up for grabs, and the Senate is up for grabs. So what happens here in Texas is very important for the future of the country and for the future of the Senate.
You've heard us say it before, it's been nearly 30 years since a Democrat won a statewide race in Texas. The last time it happened was November of 1994. For perspective, 7 Democrats won statewide races in that general election. Lieutenant Governor Bob Bullock topped the list. Among the other Democrats who won, Attorney General Dan Morales, along with State Controller John Sharp and Land Commissioner Gary Morrow. 4 years later, Morrow ran for governor and lost to George W. Bush, while Sharp lost his bid for lieutenant governor to Rick Perry. Bullock and Morales did not run for re-election in 1998 as Republicans swept all statewide races. Interestingly, one Democrat who won in 1994 campaigned on eliminating her job. Martha Whitehead won her race for state treasurer. She fulfilled her campaign promise of working to transfer her office's duties to the state controller, and in 1996, the Texas Treasury Department closed for good. Election day is just a month away, but there's a key deadline tomorrow. What you need to know to get registered to vote. He's on death row, convicted of killing his daughter, but new evidence puts the spotlight on calls to stop his execution. How some Texas lawmakers are getting involved with the death chamber just days away. A strike shut down ports and fueled panic buying that emptied some store shelves. The strike is off for now. We look at the unresolved issue that's holding back a final deal.